Okay, simple question, my friends. What does the EU, what does the fight with Canadian trade, what does Donald Trump, what does Vladimir Putin, what the massive tariffs that would destroy the Western economies, alliances with the United States, all have to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Well, unfortunately, I think quite a bit. Right now, there's a total MAGA dumpster fire going on in Washington and Trump's mishandling of the Jeffrey Epstein file. For the first time ever, he seems to be on the receiving end of a conspiracy-driven pitchfork mob. So he's panicking. So what's he do? Well, he announces devastating tariffs against the EU, Mexico, Canada. Well, so let's break that down. 30% tariffs against the European Union. The European Union says that will destroy American-European trade. Destroy it. That's at 30%. And yet he's put 35% tariffs on Canada. This is when the Prime Minister and the Premiers are meeting that we're supposed to be getting a response to Donald Trump's previous threats to our economy. He's got 30% tariffs now on Mexico. Again, 35% on Canada. Mexico, where he's gone after them before on migration, on the drug cartels, on fentanyl, but all that's not a problem. Canada is the problem. 35% tariffs. Russia, well, he says he's disappointed in Vladimir Putin. Disappointed. A man who has been doing terror bombing night after night in Kiev, a man who's kidnapped 19,000 Ukrainian children and is not bringing them back, a massive crime against humanity. Donald Trump says he's disappointed, and he may impose tariffs on Russia, which he has never done yet. Yet he's got 35% tariffs on Canada. His final offer, he said. Mark Carney, Doug Ford, this is what happens when you're negotiating with a gangster. They will never do it in good faith. So let's break down some of the impacts and some of the things we need to do. And then let's talk about why Donald Trump is engaging in such arson-driven world global economics. Well, in terms of where Canada is, a 50% tariff that was unilaterally imposed on aluminum and steel, we have not responded to. This is going to be more devastating to the United States in the long term than anyone else. 80% of North American aluminum is created in Canada. Why? Because of the huge advantage we have in cheap electricity, primarily in Quebec. If Donald Trump wants to make the United States great again in aluminum, he's going to have to massively increase the electrical grid of the United States and put it in public hands, because right now, because Quebec has public hydro, they can produce aluminum much cheaper. So what does that mean for the United States? Well, I was talking to a guy who bids on major building projects across North America. Those bids take place over a period of 5 years. So the aluminum might be made in Quebec. It might be then transferred to the United States, where the foam on the aluminum panels is put on. It may be then sent back to Canada for painting, and then it may end up in a hockey stadium in Chicago or a baseball stadium in Western Canada. If you're planning these projects 5 years in advance, and now you're dealing with these massive tariffs, you can't bid properly. So your long-term investment planning is being screwed. Is Donald Trump really going to put aluminum back as an American-made product? It's impossible. Maybe he wants to, but it's impossible. Same with copper. The average house has about 300 pounds of copper in it. We probably have about 100 and some pounds of copper in every vehicle. Donald Trump throwing massive tariffs on copper. He said he's going to make America great again in copper. It's nuts, because America produces about 1 million tons of copper a year. They need about 1.5 million tons. The world demand for copper, the United States is going to be competing to get access to copper. But here's the thing, they don't have the copper refining capacity. So even though they're making about 1 million tons of copper, most of it has to go to Asia to be refined. And then is Donald Trump going to impose tariffs on American copper coming back in? It's nuts. So what's the point of this? Well, there's a couple of issues that we need to talk about. One is this crazy economic theory called autarky. Autarky, you maybe have never heard of. If you studied economics, it's okay that you haven't heard of it. It's such an insane economic plan that it was only very rarely used. Mao Zedong's China, for example, or Nazi Germany. The original, we're going to build a wall, was actually Joseph Goebbels. The Nazi economy was based on this principle of autarky, where they were going to disengage from global trade and create a German empire based on trade within Germany. The problem is who do you sell your products to? I was reading the book Death of Democracy by Benjamin Carter Head. It's a really important book about the 1930s, but really about today. And Carter Head said that, globalization wasn't a term that was used in the 20s and 30s, but Hitler was already railing against the concept. The problem of creating a economy within your own border is that you have to find a market. And so what the Germans ended up doing with their principle of autarky was it was a plunder economy. And a plunder economy is a perpetual war economy. So where does this come in with the United States? Well, there are a number of MAGA lunatics who've been proposing these theories for a long time. The American Foreign Policy Institute, for one. And one of their principals is Linda McMahon. Yeah, McMahon. Those wrestling federation gong show people that Trump was so involved in. Well, she's apparently quite into this. The problem is that the idea of American autarky, of pulling away, destroying trade with Europe, destroying trade with Asia, is that you need to then create this continental dome, a golden dome perhaps, that's tariff-free, that the Americans control that continental economy. And what's interfering with that plan? Canada. This is about destroying the Canadian sovereignty. This has always been about destroying our economy. Donald Trump has said it again and again and again. So now we're at 35% tariffs across the board, except for what's under Kuzma. We have 50% arbitrary tariffs on key elements like steel and aluminum. The issue then for the Prime Minister and for the premiers is, do they continue to believe that they can negotiate with a gangster? Do they continue to believe that if they put things on the table like the digital services tax agreement, okay, whoa, Donald, we'll agree, we'll give up our domestic tax policy in order to get you back at the table. And as soon as they did that, Donald ridiculed us, they acted like we were losers, and they came back even harder. My advice to the Prime Minister is hold the line, go hard. Donald Trump's dealing with the dumpster fire of the Epstein files. He's dealing with an economy that isn't strong. We cannot continue to bleed off slowly our jobs. And Mr. Carney, don't think that you can just sell off some of our assets, make some quick deals, and he's going to come back to the table. It's not going to happen. So right now, Donald Trump says 35% on the table is his final offer. Sure, Donald. Let's wait for the next dumpster fire. Let's hold our ground. We are Canada, true north, strong and free. And yes, we are a trading nation and always will be a trading nation.